got into like our old issues. I don't want to talk too much about it because I've talked about it before in the past. It's like we just give away the ball so fucking cheaply. Other than the useless passing, the incredible mistakes, and just a bad positioning when we get caught out in transition, which we all can sit here and say it's the player's fault or it's the manager's fault. What I want to bring this back to is how we win the important games. When we take the initiative, try to control the game, we suck. We're not that good. We are not that good. And this may be the level of our players. That's the thing that people need to realize. But guess what? We haven't evolved that much. We haven't come that far ahead of those days. Yes, we added some amazing young talent like Garnacho and Ahmad and Menu. But they're young talent. They're not supposed to start every game like they're starting now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for clicking on the channel. And thank you for being patient with me, even though I'm not getting these videos out as often as I would like. And let's get right into it. Yesterday, I was going to make a video right after I watched the game. I had to work on Sunday morning LA time, so the game was at 8:30 a.m. I was already at work at 7 a.m. I didn't get off work till about 4 p.m. I stayed off the socials. I didn't check Twitter. I didn't look at X. I had no idea what the score was. So when I was watching the game, when I got home, for me, it was like a live experience. I had no idea what was going to happen. Had no idea about Bruno Fernandez's red card, what the score was. I had no clue. So I watched the game, and I was supposed to record a video, a reaction video afterwards, talking about that game. But I got to tell you, by the time I was done watching the game, I fell asleep 5 minutes after the final whistle because I was bored out of my mind watching that game. That game was so depressing and sad, and we got into like our old issues. I don't want to talk too much about it because I've talked about it before in the past. It's like we just give away the ball so fucking cheaply. And I don't care who you want to blame. Like I've seen so many things out there about Ten Hag out, Ten Hag out. I've even had friends of mine who are not Manchester United fans text and ask, so who's next? Is it going to be Tuchel in the next month or whatever? And to me, it's just like, I don't care who's next because someone is not going to come in here and make it so our players pass the ball better. The weight on the pass of some of these passes I was seeing yesterday was absolutely disgusting. Now, unless you're telling me that this manager is not teaching them how to become better passers or something like that, and then that a change of manager is going to result in our players being able to receive balls better on a turn. And maybe that is the case because, yeah, maybe there is a coaching aspect to this that I'm not privy to, or none of us are, though. None of us are in there knowing what the coaching is doing or isn't doing. But to me, there's a lot of stories out there that talk about these players are not trying. They're lazy. I saw it everywhere, actually. I've seen it in a couple of places where they're saying our players are lazy. You don't give it their all. Even Eriksen came out after the FC Twente game, which was another game that I don't want to talk about because it was fucking stupid. The dumbest mistakes ever are being made. And it's a repeat of things that I've seen since the Mourinho days, really. Ollie days. And I'm going to explain this a little bit differently. I want you guys to come along this little explanation with me and then leave it in the comments if you agree with me or not. But this is what I see. This is what I think is happening. And if I'm wrong, I'm not wrong by a lot. So here we go. Other than the useless passing, the incredible mistakes, and just a bad positioning when we get caught out in transition, which we all can sit here and say it's the player's fault or it's the manager's fault. What I want to bring this back to is how we win the important games. How we won games under Ollie, how we won games under Mourinho, and how we won like the FA Cup final last season with Ten Hag. When we bunker in, play unattractive football, and counterattack, we can beat anybody. We can beat Paris Saint-Germain in their home in a UEFA Champions League. We can beat a lot of people. But when we take the initiative, try to control the game, we suck. We're not that good. We are not that good. And this may be the level of our players. That's the thing that people need to realize. I don't agree with the people who say Ten Hag out, let's get a different somebody in. But look, I don't disagree, but that's the where you got to find out like what I mean. I don't want Tuchel to come in or a manager to come in who's going to go defensive, unattractive football and get us wins because I know we can do that. And I'm not going to enjoy watching it. And I thought we were past that phase. We did that phase for so many years. I thought we were trying to advance and get back to controlling football games with the ball in possession and like, what is it called? Like imposing our will on the opposition team and beating them that way. If we're going to go back to hunkering in, getting everybody behind the ball, and then hitting them on a counterattack because we have fast wingers and then we can launch some through balls and long balls in, we're not going to win championships doing that. We will win games, but we won't win championships doing that. It's the old school way. And it's not even our old school way. It's not our tradition. It's not our history. It's very Italian old school way or Mourinho old school way or whatever you want to call it. But it's not the way I want to play. And it's not what I want to see. And it's not where I want this team to go. Now, if we're getting another manager in who's going to actually try to impose his will and everything, I don't think he's going to have much more success than Ten Hag is having right now because our players are not good enough. Our players are not good enough. Do we have talented players? Yes. Do we have enough talent to control a game and impose our will? No. This manager wants to play total football, and our players can't play total football. Our two center backs, in Lisandro Martinez and De Ligt, I think have some of the best touches and passing better than some of our other players. I like Delo, but I'm being honest here. Delo has not been good for the last two games. And maybe it's not his fault. Maybe he shouldn't be playing on the left side. But whose fault is that? Whose fault is it that we didn't buy a left-sided fullback? That's Ineos, right? It has to. I don't think it's Ten Hag. I don't think Ten Hag goes, "Oh, we don't need one." I think Ten Hag pretty much goes, "Well, can I get this and that and this and that?" And then they tell him, "No, you can either get a midfielder or a left back." And he goes, "Well, I need a midfielder, so let's get Ugarte. I can't, I'll try to Delo out on the left." Anyways, I don't want to pick on Delo because he wasn't the only bad player out there. But some of these loose touches and these loose passes and these weird runs and Xerxes not pressing as much as we all said that Xerxes is one of the best pressers as a striker. He's the best pressing forward or whatever it was before he came in. I had not watched him play before, so I just went with the hoopla and what everybody was saying, but I'm not seeing it. I think we are seeing how much we miss Mason Mount starting up front with Bruno and having them do the pressing. I'm not seeing Xerxes press and cover the same amount of ground that Mason was covering or even 90% of that ground. I know he's not going to cover the same amount of ground, but I'm just not seeing the best pressing forward. I thought Dominic Solanke yesterday did a lot better job pressing than Xerxes did. Solanke was pressing great. Actually was sitting there going, damn, we probably should have bought Solanke. Off the ball, Solanke is a great player. He's really good. He's really good. He's one of the best pressers I've seen, and I got to witness that yesterday. I'd never really paid much attention to him before. Watching him play yesterday, I'm going, man, he's really good off the ball. We need that. We need a machine like that, cutting off passing lanes and pressing. It was really good stuff to watch. I don't want to talk too much about that. I just want to get back to my point and the point of this video. The point of this video is this. If we get rid of Erik Ten Hag, is the team going to play better? Do you guys really believe that? Leave that in the comments for me. I'm super curious. I don't want to hear from YouTubers and other people on Twitter and stuff like that. I want to hear from you guys. The guys on YouTube and stuff, sometimes I feel like they're doing this for clicks. I don't make any money doing it. I don't make a single dollar. This is me doing what I'm doing because of a hobby, because I like to talk about football. I like to talk about my team, and I go through the whatever time I have to put in to get one of these videos out, edit it, put it up there for you guys to share my thoughts and to hear back from you. That's really what I'm doing it for. To get feedback, to have this banter, go back and forth. I reply to almost every comment. Pretty much every comment I reply to. So let me know, do you guys actually think that if another manager came in, our team would play better? Now, take this into account. I'm not saying play better by bunkering in, hunkering in, and counterattacking all day long. That is not the kind of football I want to see. I'm talking about, is this team going to possess the ball better if we change managers? Now, I was not too happy with the Ugarte transfer. Let me explain. I don't it's not that I don't think Ugarte is a good player. I think Ugarte is an exceptionally good player, and I think he does what he does really well. I just didn't think that that's what we needed in this team. I just didn't think that this is what Erik Ten Hag wanted or needed, and there were stories coming out that said Erik Ten Hag at first did not agree with the Ugarte transfer, but then he got convinced of it or talked into it after they showed him videos and whatever else. Sure. It's easy to look at a manager who needs a midfielder desperately, and he's telling you, like, I'm not sure this is the right guy for us. And then you go, but look how good he is. Look at his stats. He breaks up plays left and right. Where was that yesterday? Where was that yesterday when they were running right through our midfield? Anybody here think Ugarte had a great game? Did he win a bunch of duels? Like, is that? I didn't even look at the stats because, again, I was bored of that game. I usually watch games twice. I refuse to watch that game again. Not to mention, I got something to say about English referees. Like, Jesus Christ, what is up? There's probably a lot of guys from England who watch this. I say a lot when I only get like 600 views. But, you know, a lot compared to how many English people I know. There's enough of you English people here watching this. And I'm just curious, like, why is it people in authority in England are fucking buffoons? Why are they clueless? Don't get me wrong, in the States, we have a lot of idiots in positions of authority, but usually they work for government. Our referees are actually pretty good at their jobs, right? Our referees in our multiple sports like the NBA, the NFL, they're actually pretty good at their jobs. Why does it always seem like the Premier League has some of the dumbest referees I've ever seen? Like, what's going on there? What you guys, we have VAR. Like, you look at that and you go, oh, dude, that's not a red. Let the ref come here and take a look at that again and then decide, shouldn't that just be a yellow? Like, the guy didn't even show his studs. He totally went with the side of his foot, and he wasn't as high as his knee. So what the hell's the problem here? That got me steaming, but that's no excuse. We played like crap. We were playing like shit before we went down to 10 men. We played like absolute dog shit. Now, is that Ten Hag's fault? Maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe he needs to get sacked, and that's fine. If it's his fault and his new coaches are just as bad as his old coaches, then maybe he needs to go because he obviously is not a good manager, can't, tactically put a good team together, and doesn't know how to hire a good coach. I doubt that that's the problem. That's not what I'm thinking the problem is. I'm thinking Jose Mourinho wasn't a dumbass. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually came out in an interview on what's that show with Gary Neville and Roy Keane and them, they do that podcast or whatever they do. He came out on that thing just recently within the last 3 months or 5 months. And he said that his second season, he was trying to be more proactive. He wanted to start evolving the team into being more on the ball, having possession longer, being more proactive and not always counting on the counterattack. And he didn't have the players. He weren't ready to do that. And he lost a bunch of games and he got sacked because his players weren't good enough. He was still counting on, like McFred or whatever. And they're definitely not good enough. But guess what? We haven't evolved that much. We haven't come that far ahead of those days. Yes, we added some amazing young talent like Garnacho and Ahmad and Mainu. But they're young talent. They're not supposed to start every game like they're starting now. And us fans should not be sitting there going like, oh, I want Garnacho to start over Rashford or whatever. I admire your opinion, but that shouldn't even be our choice. Like, our choice should be that we have a veteran who's actually really good at that job, and Garnacho can slowly evolve into becoming a starter. Phil Foden wasn't just starting every game his second season with Man City, yeah? He had to sit on the bench for a long time, for 2 or 3 seasons before he started even being considered for a full-time starting position. That's how you groom somebody in. That's how you get somebody like ready to go. But you also have someone who's really good at his position in front of him that they can learn off of. These young guys don't have anyone to learn off of. They're just learning off their coaches, which is great, and that is really good. Don't get me wrong. You're supposed to learn from your coaches, but in my day, because I've been following this team for a long time, but in my day, when a young kid like Ronaldo came in, he had players to learn off of in front of him. He wasn't just like thrown in and asked to start every game and be the hero every game. He had to evolve into becoming that great player by other players grabbing him and going, yo, you're dribbling too much and doing nothing with it. You need to pass in this situation. You need to shoot in that situation. You need to look for this in this situation. these kids don't have that, and it's not their fault. It's not the kids' fault. I'm not saying Mainu's to blame, Garnacho's to blame, Amat's to blame, or whatever. What I'm saying is this. I like the strategy of buying young. I love that strategy, but we first have to build a team that can hold on to the ball and pass for 5 yards without giving it away. A team that doesn't panic when another team presses us. We are full panic station. Now, is that Ten Hag's fault? Can he position the players in a different shape that can get around that? Yeah, it's a little bit his fault, but also there's a little bit of me watching the game going, he can't even make a 10-yard pass. He can't make a 10-yard. That was actually a good shape we were in, and he missed a 10-yard pass. The weight on that pass was shit. These are professional players. They got to be better at passing like that, and they got to be better at receiving. But sometimes it's not the passer's fault. It's the guy receiving, misreading the play, going too early, or just like having a heavy touch on his first touch. It's just... I feel bad for you guys, too, for clicking to watch this and then just hearing me complain, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at. That's what I want you guys to leave in the comments. Let's have an open discussion, and then I'll make it my next video actually addressing your comments. I'll use your comments in the video, and let's have a little kind of a back and forth. I wish I could go live, but I don't. Number one, I haven't reached that kind of status on YouTube yet where they'll even allow me to go live. I think I got to have 1,000 subscribers or something like that to get to that point so we can actually have a live discussion back and forth instead of you guys leaving comments waiting for a couple of days for me to make a video of talking about your comments. I am sorry about that, but that's kind of out of my hands. So leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if we need a new manager in your opinion, and let me know what you think Ineos is going to do, because my fear is that if they decide to sack Ten Hag, which I'm sure they will if we lose another 3 games before Christmas. Let's say if we lose another 3 games out of the next 6. I'm sure they're going to sack Ten Hag, because you can't, as a responsible business running enterprise, you can't allow that to go on. And even if they don't want to sack him, they're probably going to have to sack him just so they can look responsible and look like they actually know what they're doing. So I think it's desperate times ahead. I don't think he can afford to lose so many more games. If he loses another, like I said, if he loses another 3 out of the next 6, basically if he loses the next 2, I don't know what's going to happen to him. But if he loses 3 out of the next 6, it's going to be a problem. If he loses 5 out of the next 10, he's definitely gone. So my fear is that they hire someone like a safe bet instead of another person who really wants to play front foot football. I think that we have to play front foot football if we're going to be considered any kind of big team. You don't become a big team by sitting back, defending, and counterattacking your way. You're definitely not, I was going to say your way to the top, but you're definitely not going to get to the top like that. Not consistently, at least. You gotta put your foot on your opponent's neck, take control of the game, and basically have your way with them. Do we have the players to do that? No. I always knew we didn't. I always knew this was going to be a 2-summer transfer thing, but I don't know if the fans are going to be willing to suffer losses on our way there. I'm seeing a lot of fans, by the way, on Twitter saying things like, oh, let's bring Ollie back. Let's bring Ollie back. What's Ollie? What is that going to do? I love that. That's a nice romantic story there. Let's bring Ollie back and we all start singing again. Ollie's at the wheel. But he told you himself just a few months ago, not even a few months ago, recently in that interview that we didn't have the players, in his own opinion, that were good enough to impose their will on the opponent. So what's bringing Ollie back going to do? Let's bring him back. But if we're going to bring him back, we got to change another 3 or 4 players. The Manuel Ugarte thing I was trying to get at earlier, the manager, I think, was more happy with the option of a Joao Neves, because Joao Neves can win the duels and he can play football. He can play with the ball at his feet. He can dribble a little bit and he can pass forward. The thing about this manager is he wants to play total football. He wants to play Dutch-style, Ajax-style total football, which means every player's got to have ability on the ball. That's why De Ligt is a great buy for him. De Ligt and Lenny Yoro, who can also play football, are both great buys. Actually, I forgot to tell you guys this. My next poster up there next to Lenny Euro is going to be De Ligt. Anybody who's joining us for the first time or doesn't know what's going on back there, this is supposed to be the wall of top 3 transfers we made this summer. Nothing to celebrate right now because we're playing like shit, but I am going to talk about it because I actually made my decision. De Ligt's going up there. So De Ligt's my choice. The third poster is going to be whatever you guys decide in the comments below. Whichever player has to be someone we transferred in this summer. It can't be like Ahmad. It's got to be a player that we transferred in this summer. So you got Mazraoui, you got Ugarte, you got Joshua Zirkzee, and anybody else I might have forgotten. That's not up there right now. Whoever gets the most votes in the comments in the next 2 videos, today, this video and the next one, and then by the 3rd video, I'll announce who the player is, and I'll get both photos printed and posted up there. So we'll have De Ligt and whoever you guys choose. That's it for that. I don't want to talk about that anymore because, again, this is not a happy video. This is a sad video. And we really need to figure this out. We really need to figure out, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Are we going to blame the players, or are we going to say, oh, the manager is the problem? Like that's ever worked for us in the past. We sack managers left and right and nothing changes. Now, manager comes in, tells the team to sit back and defend, and we play on the counter, and we give up 60% of possession. We only have 38 or 40%, and we end up winning games. If that makes you happy, good for you. That's great. I'm looking for our team to evolve and move forward. And I'm looking for our team to start playing good football, because that could make us happy, sure, but that's not going to lead to big championships. And I want a Premier League title or a Champions League title. I don't want an FA Cup. I don't want a Carabao Cup. We already did that. And I don't even want a Europa League Cup because we already did that. We need the Premier League or we need a Champions League, and it's not going to happen if we sit back and defend and counter, because that's a gamble. It's a gamble. You're letting the other team have most of the ball. You're letting the other team pretty much dictate the game, and unless they make a mistake, you're not getting a goal. And you're basically counting on they're going to make a mistake or two, and we're going to punish them for it. I don't know, guys. That's it for me today. Thank you very much for clicking again. I will make a video soon after our next game. And leave the comments below. Give me your feedback. Let me know what you're thinking. Am I out of my mind? Am I crazy? Am I too depressed right now? Am I too sad? And that is definitely a possibility. I'll see you soon. Thank you.